Well, good evening and welcome back to another episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore. Tonight, I want to explore the lore of Guthix. I've realized that Guthix is my homeboy. As a Libra, I really value balance, and Guthix is the god of balance. Not the god of inaction or pure neutrality, but the god of balancing disparate forces. And I really liked the While Guthix Sleeps quest. It was amazing to go down into the Temple of Guthix and to learn more about the lore, but this isn't just a questing series. Sometimes quests will be part of it, and sometimes there's other ways of exploring lore as we've done so far. But I don't want to just read through quests in this series. Sometimes I'll refer to quests, sometimes quests will show up, but I don't want to just start a new account just so I can do some of the basic quests that tell us about Guthix. I want to learn what we can about Guthix from what's available to me now in my account. And I'm logged in here, and I think a good next step would be the Tears of Guthix minigame, because I can do it. You can do it once every 7 days, and I just got the notification at logging in that I'm eligible to do it, so I'm gonna teleport down with my games necklace down to the Tears of Guthix minigame. Run up to Juna, who we've referenced before, met in the While Guthix Sleeps quest, and we'll talk to Juna. Juna says, "Tell me a story." And I'm gonna say, okay. Juna says, "Perhaps you should empty your hands before you begin." Yes, of course, I need to be hands-free. So actually, this time when I talk to Juna, Juna says, "Tell me a story." I'm going to see what happens if I say, "You tell me a story." And Juna says, "The third age of the world was a time of great conflict, of destruction never seen before or since, when all the gods, save Guthix, warred for control. The colossal worms, of whom today's dragons are a pale reflection, turned all the sky to fire, while on the ground armies of foot soldiers, goblins, and trolls and humans filled the valleys and plains with blood. In time, the noise of the conflict woke Guthix from his deep slumber, and he rose and stood in the center of the battlefield, so that the splendor of his wrath filled the world, and he called for the conflict to cease. Silence fell, for the gods knew that none could challenge the power of the mighty Guthix, for his power is that of nature itself, to which all other things are subject in the end. Guthix reclaimed that which had been stolen from him and went back underground to return to his sleep and continue to draw the world's power into himself. But on his way into the depths of the earth he sat and rested in this cave, and thinking of the battle-scarred desert that now stretched from one side of his world to the other, he wept. And so great was his sorrow, and so great was his life-giving power, that the rocks themselves began to weep with him. Later, Guthix noticed that the rocks continued to weep, and that their tears were infused with a small part of his power. So he set me, his servant, to guard the cave, and he entrusted to me the task of judging who was and who was not worthy to access the tears. So there's the story. Now if I talk to Juna, Juna still says, "Tell me a story," and I'm going to say, okay. It says, "You tell Juna some stories of your adventures." Valiath was very impressed by the rod of Evandis, and I can use it to kill Juves and the Juvenids. Juna says, "Your stories have entertained me. I will let you into the cave for a short time. Collect as much water as you can from the blue streams. If you let in water from the green streams, you will take away from the blue. For Guthix is a god of balance, and balance lies in the juxtaposition of opposites." And here I go. I'm entering the cave to do my minigame for the week and get some XP in my lowest skill. That's how the rewards for the minigame work. And I gotta move over to another wall. I'm collecting tears, so the way these walls work is they'll show up and there'll be like a little countdown timer on them, and then you'll be able to click on them, and you have a little bowl in your hand, and you can collect the tears that are streaming down the rocks for a short time, a few seconds before it changes and switches to the next one. So I am working on this. I'm clicking from rock to rock, and I'm going to let you know when I'm done and what happens. Wow, I got really close to my personal best of 181 tears collected, but this time it was 179. And I got, oh, I didn't realize fishing is my lowest skill now. I thought it was runecraft. I gotta up my fishing because that's easier to train than runecraft, and when I come here I wanted to train either runecraft or slayer. But for now I got 10,000 fishing XP. So what I want to do next is look at, on the wiki there's a list of followers of Guthix, groups and races, notable individuals and animals associated with Guthix. And I want to explore some of that, but first I want to go to I think there's a statue near Varrock that I can look at and that is a statue of Guthix, and maybe I can look at it and we can learn a little bit of Guthix from there. So I'm going to deposit all my worn items and put on my graceful set of equipment that lets me run for longer. I'm going to teleport to Castle Wars, which is really close to the balloon transport system, and I can travel right from here to the far side of Varrock where the sawmill is, and I think that's where the statue of Guthix is. So now I'm taking the balloon over there, and I just arrived. And is this where the statue is? Hopefully. When I run down here, I see... Oh. Well, I'm going to examine this statue. That's the statue of Saradomin. I don't actually remember where the statue of Guthix is, but maybe it's in Taverley. So I'm going to teleport back to Castle Wars. And this is also... I also get to Taverley typically using the balloon transport system, so I'm running back up to the balloon. And I'm going to click on it one more time and choose Taverley this time. And here we are. So, druids are followers of Guthix, and there's the whole druid circle that you start the druidic ritual quest at, and there's a bunch of druids there. Maybe they'll tell us a little bit more about Guthix. There's a statue of Zamorak in the witch's house courtyard right here, but we don't need to look at that right now. Kind of an enclave of Zamorak support in the middle of this whole town, which is full of Guthix supporters. So let's talk to Cake Meeks, who says hello again. How's the herb lore going? And I'd say very well, thank you. That is good to hear, and that's it there. I don't think there's any Guthix related dialogue here. No. Well, I'll say explain the fundamentals, and I'll see if anything is mentioned related to Guthix. And it's just kind of explaining the mechanisms of herb lore. Well, that's nice, because sometimes if you want to only get guidance from within the game, things like that are really helpful. But I'm going to talk to this druid that's just walking around the stone circle here. It looks a lot like Stonehenge. I'm saying hello. The druid says, "Good day to you. May nature smile upon you." And that's it. If I examine the henge, it says, "Looks like a stone doorway to me." If I examine the altar of Guthix, it says, "An ancient altar to the glory of Guthix." Now I'm going to pray at it. I already have full prayer points, so I can't pray there. Okay, let's see if we can talk to anyone else in Taverley who tells us anything about Guthix. I'm running south, back to where I started the While Guthix Sleeps quest. There are just some generic druids here. I'm going to talk to Ivy Sophista, who I think is the person I started that quest with. Hello again. Hello there, friend. I heard about your exploits on your recent journey. Good work. That's it there. If we go upstairs, can we talk to... I can't remember their name. No, they're not here anymore. That was the second NPC I was looking for who was in the quest. Okay, they're not here anymore, but I think there is another druid who's like a more notable NPC in another building nearby, so we're going to run over there, see if we can talk to him. In this round building to the south. There's more druids, just generic druids, but I think this is a named NPC up here. Sandfew, yeah. Sandfew says, "What can I do for you, young'un? Ask general questions. Have you any more work for me to help reclaim the stone circle?" Sandfew says, "Well, not right now, I don't think, young'un. In fact, I need to make some preparations myself for the ritual. Rest assured, if I need any more help, I will ask you again." So I think since I've already done a lot of quest stuff, there isn't a lot of dialogue right around here to unlock. Let's see, certain dwarves apparently are followers of Guthix, but Ents too. So let's run over to Auburnvale again, because that's where I saw the Ents. That's where I remember seeing the Ents for the first time with the recent update. So I'll go over there. I'm going to take a Quetzal bird to fly over there. And blowing my whistle, Quetzal's picking me up. And I want to travel to Auburnvale. And let's look for a druid that we can, not a druid, an ent that we can examine. There's a memorial here. When I examine it, it says, "A memorial to all in the Auburn Valley who died in the War of Betrayal." So that's interesting lore that I don't know about. But if I examine this ent, it just says, "He ain't such a bad guy." So that's another follower of Guthix that I can't learn a lot from, can't talk to them. But there was someone in the Shadows of Custodia quest that was over by the sea. I wonder if they are still here, and if so, if I can talk to them. They were northeast of town. Yes, Ictus. I'm going to talk to Ictus again. It's interesting because a lot of the lore of Guthix that isn't directly in quests seems to be just kind of embedded in the world. It's more just like a force than people talking about like a belief system. There's a lot of I think a lot of these Guthix followers and a lot of these animals and stuff are probably just associated with Guthix, but you're not gonna necessarily learn a lot of written information about Guthix just by examining them, but I'm still gonna try a little bit. Ictus says, "You found those people who went missing. Did you see them? Do you see the night people?" I say, "Sort of. I wouldn't call them people, though," Ictus says, "but they're real. They're actually real. No one believed me, but I knew they were real." Well, congratulations, I guess, and that's that. Okay, where else can we learn? We can look at fairies. Apparently the fairies in Zenaris are also associated with Guthix. So let's get a lunar staff and head over there and see if there's anyone over there we can talk to about Guthix. Alright. Running over to the fairy ring. I have to climb this underneath this wall through a tunnel and then just run south, and then there we are. So I can just right click on the fairy ring and say Zenaris, and I teleport right there. Fairy ring, if you don't know, is 3 concentric rings of mushrooms, and they're these magical rings that you can teleport to any other ring in the world. So there's a bunch of them, several dozen. I'm going to talk to Fairy Fix-It, who is right here next to the ring, who says, "Psst, human, I've got something for you." I'm going to say, "What have you got for me?" "They said you'd helped cure our queen." That was in Fairy Tale Part 2 quest. "I haven't got a lot of rewards to offer, but my enchantment scrolls might help if you're working with fairy rings in your home." Okay. I don't know what those do, but I imagine they change the aesthetics of the fairy portal if you build it in your play-around house. Now let's go to where I think there's still a fairy king here who's left over from the Fairy Tale Part 2 quest. Let's see if there's anyone down here in the throne room that we can talk to. There's the Slayer Master. Yes, the Fairy Godfather. Godfather, I can't help noticing that there seems to be orcs wandering around Zaniris. You's just a better keep your nose out of my business. I's the Godfather, and I's the one who's in charge here. Okay, I don't know about the transliteration of Italian dialects there, but it's obviously a reference to the Godfather. Fat Rocco says, "Don't say nothing to me. Say it to the boss." Okay, well, I tried. And then Slim Louie is here. Don't talk to humans. You want to talk to the boss. Yep, I already tried that. Okay, so let's talk to Sheldar, the Slayer Master Fairy. Hello, and what are you after then? It's just functional stuff for Slayer. So I'm going to go away from her. I'm going to go back to the fairy ring, and there's a secret series of 4 teleports you can do to get to the fairy queen's hideout base. So I'm going to go back to the fairy ring, and then it's just in my list of, there's another fairy on the way here. I'm going to talk to them. Fairy Erika, it's still here. Pardon? It's still here. The crop circle is still here. Oh yes, thanks, Eri. It didn't go anywhere in the meantime then? Nope, it just sat there. Jolly good. I can come back and visit Puro whenever I want then. Brilliant. What's in Puro? Implings and wheat. Anything else? Not really, though I've noticed quite a lot of you humans traveling through the portal recently. I suppose you must like wheat. Well, most of us prefer lobsters, to be perfectly honest, but there must be something interesting there. Oh, I did notice a very serious-looking gnome go into the portal. Maybe he knows what's going on. Do you remember what his name was? Eggnog or something like that? Right, thanks. I'll have a chat with him when I go. Maybe he'll know what's going on. I'm going to say, so what are these implings then? Well, no one knows for sure. The mischievous little creatures are probably related to imps, and they fly as well. Also, like imps, they love collecting things. I'm not sure why, though. They also seem to like being chased. So how would I get a hold of what they're carrying, then? Catch them, I suppose. I don't know, really. Why would you want to? Well, if they were carrying something useful, maybe I could catch them with a big net, like butterflies. Sounds a bit cruel to me, but I suppose that's possible. Alright, I'm going to say bye. That didn't reveal anything about Guthix, just the Puro minigame. And that's not really going to be Guthix focused. So when I click on this fairy ring now and say configure, I can choose all these places to teleport to in the travel log on the right. And I'm going to go to the Fairy Queen's hideout. So first I click on that. It brings up an interface where I can choose to go to the first location, which is southeast of Ardoin. And I'm teleporting there. Now I click configure again. And then I click on the Fairy Queen's hideout, and it brings me to the second item in the list of 4 places I need to teleport, and that takes me to the Poison Waste south of Isafdar. I say configure again, and now it takes me to just an invalid location, and I'm going to spawn right back here again, and then I say, wow, fairy magic sure is useful. I hardly moved at all, so I'm being a little rude. And then finally, the last one, when I click on it, it says Penguins near Miscellanea, but when I click on this, it's actually going to take me into the Fairy Queen's hideout. So it's like a secret code. If you enter 4 specific locations and go to them one by one, it'll actually take you to the Fairy Queen's hideout. But the interface has a list of, has them all on the list there, so I just need to click them one at a time, and then I get right back here. So if I talk to the first fairy I see, they say, is the council finished yet? All these fairies are generic, not named. Oh, Fairy Nuff is in the northeast. Let's see what she has to say. Why aren't you in the war room with the Fairy Queen and her advisors? I don't like war. I don't believe that violence is ever justified. That's why I became a healer. Very good. And then if I go to the south, what will I find? There's more fairies, but there's Fairy Very Wise and the Fairy Queen herself. So let's talk to Fairy Very Wise first. I say, how goes the Council of War? Slowly, I'm afraid. We're still trying to come up with a reasonable plan. So this is based on the Fairy Tale Part 2 quest. where the Fairy Queen is in danger, and I did the quest, but I think there's just like some loose ends because I helped them and I finished what I could do, but like it's up to them now to just kind of like try to take their land back. And I'm talking to the Fairy Queen now, and I say, have you managed to work out a plan yet? Not yet, Drifter Ray, but it looks like we'll need to ask you for your help again, I'm afraid. I'll be able to tell you more once we have finished making our battle plans. So if they ever release a part 3 of the quest series, that will probably be where it picks up. Also, no information on Guthix, even though they are fairies. So let's see, what else? Certain Fremeniks apparently are followers of Guthix, but I don't know how I would find them. Gnomes apparently are also Guthixian. Moss giants, well, we explored moss giants in the last 2 episodes. The wiki just says a species of giant that may have worshipped Guthix in times past. But then there's seers. Okay, well, I can teleport to Camelot and then run west to Seer's village, which is right here, and hopefully some of the seers that are in this village will have something to say about Guthix. So I don't see any of them yet. I'm still running west. And I'm going to talk to this seer. That's the first one I find. And they say, many greetings. And I'm going to say, many greetings. They say, remember, whenever you set out to do something, something else must be done first. Well, that's very RuneScapian, where it's like, I want to do this. And then it's like, actually, I have to do like 15 things to achieve the thing I want to do. But they're saying, if I click on them again, many greetings, but now I can say, I seek knowledge and power. They say, knowledge comes from experience, power comes from battle axes. I don't know if I totally agree that that's how simple it is, but I hear them. There are... I think there's another seer in the house here. Yeah. Fentuti Fenstui Farsight. And I'm going to say, hey, what is this place? This is Seer's Village. We're an organization of mystically gifted people with the power of foresight. We see things that have yet to come to pass. What do you do here? A lot of our time is spent addressing everyday sorts of things. Plus, we meditate a lot and enhance our powers of mystical foresight. I'm going to say, do you have any quests? I'm sure they don't. Unfortunately, no. Sorry, but if adventure is what you seek, try checking through your quest list. Yes, I will do that. Often. Okay, so apparently the seers are followers of Guthix, but I'm not finding any information yet. But I did run upstairs, climb the ladder in this room, and there is another seer up here called Sin Seer. They say, oh, your sins, they blind me. And that's it. I think I had to talk to them for a quest to do something earlier, but apparently they don't have anything to tell me about Guthix either. Well, that's too bad. I'm just going to talk to one other seer here, an unnamed one, and just see if they have anything unique. Nope. Okay, so what else is on the list? Void Knights. Maintainers of balance in Gielinor found at the Void Knights outpost. Okay, how do I get there? I can't remember. Transportation. Traveling with a squire on the docks at Port Sarim. Or I could just do the pest control minigame teleport. Let's do that. Going down to pest control in the minigame teleport list. This teleport takes a little while. It's one of the slow ones where I draw a circle around myself. I imagine it's a magical circle. And then I pull out a book and I read the book. It'd be cool if I could examine that book that I'm reading. And then a purple ring grows around me, and then I am at my teleportation destination. So now I'm at the pest control minigame, which is on the Void Knights outpost to the southwest of Ape Atoll, so in the southern sea here. And I'm going to talk to this... Oh, that's a squire. No, I wanted to talk to a Void Knight. Okay, I'm going to talk to this Void Knight that's right here. They say, hi, how can I help you? And I'm asking, what is this place? This is our outpost. From here we send launches out to the nearby islands to beat back the invaders. What invaders? Recently there have been breaches into our realm from somewhere else, and strange creatures have been pouring through. We can't let that happen, and we'd be very grateful if you'd help us. And I already know about this. This is just a mini game. I'm going to start the conversation over, talk again, and say, who are you? Here we go. I'm a Void Knight, one of the Order of Guthix. We are warriors of balance who do Guthix's work here in Gielinor. Interesting. So although Guthix is sleeping, some of the followers of Guthix, including Void Knights, do Guthix's work while Guthix is sleeping. I'm going to say, wow, can I join? Entry is strictly invite only. However, we do need help continuing Guthix's work. I'm going to say, what kind of work? Well, you see, we try to keep Gielinor as Guthix intended. It's very challenging. Actually, we've been having some problems recently. Maybe you could help us? Yeah, okay, what's the problem? Well, the Order has become quite diminished over the years. It's a very long process to learn the skills of a Void Knight. Recently, there have been breaches into our realm from somewhere else, and strange creatures have been pouring through. We can't let that happen, and we'd be very grateful if you'd help us. I say, how can I help? We send launchers from our outpost to the nearby islands. If you go and wait in the lander there, that would really help. Yeah, okay, so that's for the pest control minigame, but I'm going to talk to them again, and I'm going to say, who are you? Because there was one dialogue option I didn't click. It's, what's Gielinor? It is the name that Guthix gave to this world, so we honor him with its use. Now, I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that Guthix was the one who named the world Gielinor. So every time we call the land of RuneScape Gielinor, we are using Guthix's name. Alright, that seems like a lore find. And I didn't know that the pest control minigame was based on Guthix's followers trying to maintain balance in the world by repulsing these forces pouring in from a breach from another realm. That was pretty good. And then there's Cruxicall, which we learned about in the While Guthix Sleeps quest. But Therisk, that was the name of the person I was looking for in Taberley. I already talked to Ivy Sophista, who's a member of Cruxicall. Can I find Therisk again? Oh, okay, in the White Knight's castle. So let's go back to Falador, run into the White Knight's castle, and see if there's any additional dialogue from Therisk, who is a Guthixian with Cruxicall, which the wiki calls a group of Guthixians who protect the world from imbalance. I like it because Guthix seems like a very ecological god. Balance, just about maintaining kind of a state of equilibrium where the world can go on. And there is Therisk. I'm talking to Therisk. Ah, Drifteray, it's good to see you again. Hello there, Therisk. Any word on Lucian? Nothing yet, but we're doing everything we can to find him. I hope he's ready for us, because once we do locate him, we're going to give him quite the bloody nose. Or at least whatever passes for a nose on a Majorat. Okay, that's all we got from Therisk. Let's talk to Acrisay. Hi there, Acrisay. Saradomin. Oh, right, Acrisay is a Saradominist. Saradomin be with you, Drifteray. We have a lot to be grateful to you for. Thanks, but I'm not sure I feel the same way. I wasn't able to stop Lucian. But you came very close, and you lived to tell the tale. Lucian may have gained the upper hand, but he's not safe by any means. He has people like you opposing him, not to mention an alliance between the Temple Knights, Cruxicall, and the Guardians of Armadil. You make a good point. Let's just hope it will be enough. It will be, my friend. So it's like Armadil is another god. Armadil's followers have united with Guthix's followers, some of Saradomin's followers, all against, I think, the Zamorakian, Lucian. Okay. I think Lucian's a Zamorakian. I'm going to talk to Idria. Hello there, Drifteray. Hey, Idria, how are things here? Well, we're still trying to work out what Lucian's next move is, but so far everything has been quiet. What do you think he's doing? It's hard to say. He has the Stone of Jas and the Staff of Armadil now. That should give him everything he needs to follow in Zamorak's footsteps. Yes, a Zamorakian. Or at least someone who's inspired by Zamorak, because Zamorak used the staff to ascend to godhood. But for whatever reason, Lucian has chosen not to act yet. Is there anything I can do? Not really at this point, but we'll be sure to let you know the moment he dares try anything. In the meantime, you might want to return to that temple beneath Lumbridge. It seems the magics Lucian used down there were far more than just a single summoning spell. The area has been permanently desecrated by those horrifying demons. If you were looking for some way of keeping Lucian and his forces in check, killing a few of those demons wouldn't be a bad idea. I might just do that. Thanks, Adria. Okay, so that's the final two bosses in While Guthix Sleeps. After I defeated the Balance Elemental, and then Lucian showed up, took a Stone of Jas, then there were these two demons that he summoned that I fought, and I saw on the wiki that the whole temple is now full of them. So you can fight a lot of them and get drops and stuff, but I don't think it's going to tell me anything more about Guthix. Hello, Sylph. I'm talking to Sylph now. Hello there, friend. I heard what happened with Lucian and the stone. Don't worry, he'll pay for his crimes sooner or later. I hope you're right, Sylph. Have faith, friend. Evil never prospers for long. I better get going. Okay, so until next time, friend. So that's all of the groups and races that are mentioned as followers of Guthix. Let's see. Notable individuals. Eris, an old fortune teller who lives in Varrock. I don't even remember that person. Eris is right near the main city square, so let's go there and let's talk to Eris and see if we can learn anything about Guthix. Talk to... I guess I'll ask about the Demon Slayer quest. You're a hero now. That was a good bit of demon slaying. How do you know I killed it? You forget I'm good at knowing things, okay? Recipe for disaster quest. There's one thing I don't understand about that whole time travel Cullen-Romancer thing, because I finished that quest. Oh yes, what was that? Everything. I don't understand everything. I wouldn't worry about it. The world is safe once more thanks to your assistance. That's all that really matters. I just wonder how they know that, like, some of these characters are Guthix followers. Because maybe it was, like, in some of the dialogue for one of the quests? Or maybe it's just a guess. Like, I wish they'd have references for why the people are on this list. Okay, next is Death. So let's go to Edgeville and go into Death's domain. Apparently Death is a guardian of Guthix, and I don't even know what that means. Okay, so Juna, the snake we talked to at the start, is one of them. Huh. And then Death is another, and then Zoria, who I have never heard of before, is another one. Okay, according to the wiki, Herald Death Esquire, or the Grim Reaper, is an undead human tasked with regulating death. Okay, I'm going to teleport to Edgeville, and we'll see if we can enter Death's domain and talk to Death and see what we learn. I'm running south to this coffin I need to climb into to go to the domain. Enter Death's domain. Here we are. And let's talk to Death. Hello, mortal. Have you come to retrieve something you lost when you died? I'm going to say, what is this place? As you should be able to see, I am Death, the Grim Reaper, the inexorable one, the inescapable grasp of mortal destiny, and this is my little office. Nice, isn't it? I'm saying, it's lovely. It's kind of cozy. Kind of grand. Thank you. I feel the color scheme suits my style. Now, can I help you retrieve something you lost when you died? Not just now, thanks. Really? There isn't much else for you to do here, but you know your business. I'm going to talk to Death again, because I think there were other options. More options. Nope, there's nothing else to say. I don't know how we learned about Death's association with Guthix. Oh, some of it is from RuneScape 3, the other version of RuneScape that's still active. Okay, so because one of the links on the wiki, one of the references says that. Okay, so this is coming from both a RuneScape quest, I think, RuneScape 3, and then something one of the an Ask Me Anything on Reddit thread that one of the employees of Jagex, who makes the game, wrote about. According to that AMA, the wiki says, according to Maud Osborne, there were originally as many guardians as standing stones in a druid circle, totaling 8. Some of the guardians are blessed with great power and or wisdom on Gielinor, greater even than some lower-tier gods and divine beings. Yeah, some of this stuff, though, like the paragraph on death is just written with no references, and I don't know how people know that. Zoria is the guardian of the rune essence mine. Is that actually an NPC we can talk to? No, he was accidentally killed, apparently. Zoria, is there any way I can learn more about this person? Looks like a big frog being. Okay, so this isn't... Apparently this is from RuneScape 3 as well. The wiki says it's generally considered canon, unless contradicted in-game, in which case the game, I think old school RuneScape, takes precedence. Okay, so that's a feature from a quest in RuneScape 3, so that's not really gonna relate to what we're doing here. But Derwen is an ancient ent that roams the wilderness. Can we talk to Derwen? Apparently Derwen means oak tree in Welsh. Has to be defeated in the Major Arena 2 mini-quest, which I haven't done yet. Oh, it's just someone you fight. But keeps a balance between... Attempts to keep a balance between Justicia Zachariah and Porazdur, an ancient servant of Guthix. Okay. Well, I can't... Maybe if I do the Major Arena 2 mini-quest sometime, I'll take you along and maybe we'll learn more about Derwen and Derwen's relation to Guthix. Then there's Philemon Tarlock, a nature spirit of Mauritania. I need the Ghost Speak amulet, so I'm going to go to my bank and grab that. Then we have to run through Mauritania to find them. Ghost Speak amulet, there it is. I might as well bring my ring of visibility in case I need that. And I can get there with my lunar staff through fairy rings, so here we go. Going back to the fairy rings, going to try to talk to Philemon Tarlock, who's allegedly associated with Guthix, and we'll see if Tarlock has anything to say about Guthix. Going down to the fairy ring, configuring it, and Mauritania. I think Mort Meyer is my teleport I need. Nope. Haunted Woods? Nope. How do I get there? Have I ever... I must have gone there before. BIP, that's the fairy ring code. BIP. Oh, I was searching for Mauritania, but it's called Islands. So it's an island in the River Salve, and then I can jump onto Mauritania by crossing over a stepping stone. Okay, so I got there, jumping over a stepping stone, running up to Philemon Tarlock's grotto. It's a nature grotto. And we're jumping across this bridge that's broken to get in there, and I failed my jump and took 2 damage, but that's okay, we can enter the grotto. And if I pray at the altar of nature, does Philemon Tarlock show up? If I wear my ring of visibility? No, it must be only when I'm doing a quest. I'm going to put on a prayer so that I drain my prayer points a little bit. Hopefully if I pray at the altar, Philemon shows up. Nope. Okay, well, I don't think I can talk to them anymore. That's the kind of sad thing, is like, for a series like this, a lot of stuff is like revealed within quests, and then if you're done the quest, you can't like access it. So it's too bad, but we're gonna keep trying. We already talked to Juno, we already talked to Cake Meeks, King Bolrin in the Tree Gnome Village, and King Narnode Shireen in the Tree Gnome Stronghold. We already talked to Sandfew, the leader of the Taverley Order of Druids. So let's go talk to those 2 Gnome Kings and see if they have anything to say. I'm running up to a spirit tree to teleport there. I'm going to go to the Gnome Stronghold first. And running north to the Grand Tree, opening the tree door, and let's talk to King Narnode Shireen. There we go, we got in the door. Hello there, King Narnode. Good of you to stop by, human. How fares the kingdom today? What if I just called people like that? Like, good to see you, gnome. It's like, it's okay when they say that to us, but I feel like calling everyone by their, like, species is a little off base. Everything seems fine as far as I can tell. I will let you know if there's any trouble. Oh, you do not meet all the requirements to start the Monkey Madness 2 quest. Yeah, I think I need like 69 Slayer to do that, so that's like 6 more Slayer levels. And there's no more dialogue with this king, so let's go back to the Spirit Tree and check out the Tree Gnome Village. Here it is. Going to Tree Gnome Village now, and I am near to the king, I think. There's the king. King Bolrin. Hello there. Any luck in the quest for Arposandra? I don't remember what that is. Sort of. I think I've worked out where Arposandra is, but my attempts to enter didn't go well. There seems to be quite an extensive set of defenses. That is a problem. I wish I could offer more help, but the Khazard army already poses a major threat to us. We can't afford to split ourselves fighting 2 different enemies. So we do nothing? For now, I'm afraid so. Gluffrey is a foe that must be dealt with one day, but that day is not today. Well, I guess not every follower of a god is necessarily always going to talk about that god when you're talking to them. It's like they also have lives and things they're pursuing, things they're responsible for, so maybe that's why Scripture exists, so that people can learn about belief systems without having to just burden people with conversation about it. Speaking of which, we might check out the Book of Balance, which is a Guthixian book, when we're done exploring the followers of Guthix. Okay, next is a bear. Apparently bears are followers of Guthix, animals associated with Guthix. So I'm going to go back to Varrock Main Square, run behind the castle where we saw the bear in the cage in our Monster Mash episode. And how do I get over there? Oh, I have to run up the west side. I can't run up the east side. Okay. And I am running east toward the bear. And there's the bear, and if I examine it, it says, "Eek, a bear." Apparently butterflies are associated with Guthix. The only place off the top of my head I can think of to get to a butterfly is the northern snowy hunter area. I can't remember what it's called, but let's get back to a fairy ring and teleport up there. We'll at least examine a butterfly. Well, at least in this episode, we'll have talked to and examined a bunch of different alleged followers of Guthix, and then we'll read See what we can learn from the Book of Balance. I also learned that there's this really cool staff called the Staff of Balance. It's worth like 24 mil, and if you can trade in points from the Last Man Standing minigame, then you can get it by trading in that and an item you get from those points and a staff worth like 8 or 9 mil. So you can make a lot of profit on it if you play that minigame enough to get a lot of points. Or you could just buy the staff outright on the Grand Exchange. But it looks really cool. It's like green and then like leading up to like a snake head that's open, and then there's like this jagged blade coming out of the top of the snake's mouth. It's a really cool looking staff. I'd love to have one day, especially since I like Guthix. Alright, let's configure this fairy ring and go to Ferminic Province Polar Hunter area, because I think there's some butterflies up there. Well, I mean, I know there were. I know I'd caught butterflies there, so we're going to go up there. Running across this isthmus with frozen sea or cold sea on either side. And there's a butterfly. It is a Sapphire Glacialis. And I clicked examine, and it says a Sapphire Glacialis. It doesn't look as pretentious as its name sounds. Alright, also next is cats, so let's go to the bank and get my Hellcat out of the bank. Where's my... Oh, my cat is in my house. I'm going to go to my house and see my cat there. Running over to the room that the pets are in, which is called the menagerie. And I can examine my Hellcat, and it says a hellish pet cat. Now, I think that's enough there. What else? Sheep. Oh, and there's a reference on the wiki for cats and sheep being followers of Guthix. It says, Bob the cat apparently says at some point in this game, cats were the second thing Guthix brought here, after sheep, of course. Well, we gotta go examine a sheep then. Let's teleport to Lumbridge and run up to the sheep pen. Running north, entering the gate to the sheep pen. Examine a sheep. It says white and fluffy. Alright, there are 3 animals left: terror birds, tortoises, and wolves. Let's go back to the gnome stronghold, because that's where I think we'll find some terror birds. Going to the spirit tree and teleporting to the gnome stronghold. And there's a terror bird, but it's a mounted terror bird gnome, which means the gnome is riding the terror bird. If I examine it, it says these gnomes know how to get around. I think there might be some terror birds without gnomes on their backs if we go west. Or maybe it's north. Isn't there like a cage or something with terror birds? Oh, I think it's to the west. And then across a little bridge. I hope it's this enclosure. Yep, terror birds without gnomes on them. And if I examine them, it says a giant raptor. Okay. And tortoises. I don't remember at all where I find tortoises. Maybe Fossil Island? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Oh, okay. They're also used by gnomes in battle. So, tortoises. We've got to go back to the Khazard battlefield. That's where the tortoises are. And I'm almost back to the spirit tree. Travel spirit tree. And I'm going to choose Battlefield of Khazard, and let's find the tortoise. There's another mounted terror bird gnome. Maybe the tortoises are south across this river here? I think so. They're kind of like the tanks of this battlefield. There they are. Tortoise, examine. Massive beast of war with extra gnome. War and gnome are capitalized. Okay. Okay, the last animal on the list is wolves. Let's check out... It's a good place to find wolves. I think probably Ice Mountain, is that what it's called? But I'm just thinking about how to get there. Well, there's White Wolf Mountain. We gotta do that one. We gotta find them on White Wolf Mountain. It's literally called, like, named for them. So I'm going to teleport to Emir's Arena because I can run down to the Gnome Glider transport system from there. And there is a Gnome Glider transport location right at the top of White Wolf Mountain. So I will glider. I will choose the glider option on this gnome, and I will choose Sindar Post, which is the gnomish name for White Wolf Mountain, I think. And here is a wolf, and when I examine it, it says a social killer. Because I guess wolves lead very social lives, but they're also intense. Okay, and now I think let's end the episode by looking at the Book of Balance that I have in my bank. It's a damaged book. I don't have all the pages yet. What happens if I examine it? Incomplete Book of Guthix. Well, we gotta complete it. How do I find out? Oh, if I check, it's missing the second, third, and fourth pages. Okay, let's get... the second, third, and fourth Guthix pages from the GE. Can I buy them? If these don't sell, like, sometimes it's just hard to actually acquire them because they're pretty low volume, I think, so sometimes the order just doesn't fill. Like the second one I ordered, I put in more than market price and it didn't fill, so hopefully we can get them. Guthix page 4. Okay, so got that one. I think I'll just increase my author for Guthix page 3 until the order fills. And we got it. Okay, so now we can complete this book. Use Guthix page 2, use Guthix page 3, use Guthix page 4, and now we have the Book of Balance. It says you can now use it to bless unblessed holy symbols. That seems balancy. It's like if you have an unholy symbol, which is, I think, a symbol of Zamorak, then you can bless it using Guthix's book. Maybe that like counteracts it or something. So now if I examine the Book of Balance, it still says a Holy Book of Guthix, but now I can preach from it. I can do a wedding ceremony, and I say, light and day, dark and night, balance arises from contrast. I unify thee in the name of Guthix. Okay, I can preach a last rites. It says, thy death was not in vain, for it brought some balance to the world. May Guthix bring you rest. I can preach blessings. May you walk the path and never fall, for Guthix walks beside thee on thy journey. May Guthix bring you peace. And I'm going to preach, just the preach option. It says, the trees, the earth, the sky, the waters, all play their part upon this land. May Guthix bring you balance. Those are kind of nice. Nice little sermons. I mean, sermon probably isn't the right word for it, but that was nice. Okay, I also have a Guthix cape, and I think I have a Guthix staff. So I think I got those from the Major Arena 1 minigame, if I examine the Guthix cape, it says a cape from the almighty god Guthix, and if I examine the staff, it says a magical staff imbued with the power of Guthix. Oh, the Peaceful Blessing, I have one of those too. That's also a Guthixian item, so let's examine that. It says, life and death, old and new, day and night, balance is the key to all. So it's like all these like kind of opposing forces that balance each other out. Let's see, what else? I don't think I have any others. Yeah, I don't think I have any other Guthixian items. I do wish I knew where the Guthix statue was. That would be a nice way to end the episode. Oh, Mage Arena Bank area has a statue of Guthix. Where else can we find a statue of Guthix? There's statues in the ancient Guthixian temple, and statues of 6 fallen heroes in Falador Park after completing while Guthix sleeps. I didn't know that. We gotta go check those out. Falador Park, easy. Let's go there. And where are they? There's a statue of Saradomin in the park. Oh, it's by the pond. They're all around the pond. Oh, these are the heroes that died when in the battle with Lucian. So first is the statue of Sloane, and it says, in honor of the hero Sloane, who died facing the Majorat known as Lucian. In honor of the hero Turiel, who died facing the Majorat known as Lucian. Honor of the hero Cyrusus. The rest of the text is the same every time. Honor of the hero Duradel. In honor of the hero Gommel. And in honor of the hero Hazelmere. Something happened with Hazelmere in that quest, though. In an earlier quest, I think it was the Path of Gluffrey, I got stuck in this dungeon, and Hazelmere, this like telepathic gnome that I knew, showed up, and like it was really epic. Like there was this like cutscene of Hazelmere's hand with like this royal seed pod in it. It's a teleport item that can take you to the Grand Tree, and Hazelmere said something about it being like nearly time, that like the time was almost here. But then somehow I think Hazelmere saved me from being trapped in this dungeon, and then a similar cutscene happened when we were fighting Lucian in the While Guthix Sleeps quest, and Hazelmere looks down at his hand and he's like, says something like, the time has arrived, and you can see the seed pod in his hand still, and then I don't know if he did something else, but then he also got hit by Lucian, and it just made me feel like Hazelmere knew what was going to happen. Hazelmere knew he was going to die, but like I thought that when I saw that he was going to like do something, like plant something that like weakens Lucian. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a follow-up quest after that one, or that we learn more at some point in the future about like the lore of Hazelmere and how Hazelmere, like what Hazelmere was doing, and if he succeeded at doing something that compromises Lucian. It was a really clutch moment, but then ended up that Hazelmere just died. I thought at the moment that it was like Hazelmere looked like he died, but maybe he didn't really. That could be, but for all intents and purposes, Hazelmere is dead now, according to like everyone around me and the statue. As far as we know, Hazelmere is dead, but this is a really nice memorial. These 6 statues around this very, very placid pond in Falador Park. Well, statue of Guthix. That's what I've been looking for. Alright, well, really don't feel like running all the way through the wilderness up to the mage arena right now, so I'm just going to read a little bit from the wiki page. The statue of Guthix can be found in the Mage Arena cave after completing the Mage Arena 1 mini-quest alongside the statue of Saradomin and the statue of Zamorak. They can be accessed by traveling through the sparkling pool in the bank area near Collodion. Praying at the statue of Guthix will not recharge your prayer points and instead will drop a Guthix cape on the floor. Okay, so that's how I got my Guthix cape in the first place. After claiming their first cape, players can talk to the Chamber Guardian to claim a free staff of the god cape of their choice. So I did that. And the examine text apparently is, I wonder how accurate a representation this is. There's a gallery of historical images. The first one is a robed figure, kind of holding their hands up in front of them with their head bowed. And the current visual version of this is someone with their legs folded, like their legs crossed in front of them and their arms behind their legs, kind of like maybe holding them up on the ground. They're sitting cross-legged. They have like spiky hair coming out the back, and they have 2 strands of their beard that are like tied in knots at the end. And they look pretty fit. And that's what Guthix looks like in that statue. Okay. Well, I think that is probably going to do it for this episode. Nothing groundbreaking. We did a little bit of exploration, learned a little bit about the lore of Guthix and Guthix's followers. At least got to meet some people and some creatures and examine them and examine some items. And also preach some little sermonettes. So that's pretty nice. So I think that's going to do it for this episode of Cozy Old School RuneScape Lore. To those of you who may still be listening, thank you so much for tuning in and joining me this evening. I hope you have such a good night and that you sleep so well. And I'll say goodbye and good night for now.